Is this working? Yay. Look, I made a laptop work. I'm so very proud of myself. It only took me about 10 minutes. So, hi, welcome to my talk. This is Putin. He's on a bear. Look at his sexy little body. This man, totally straight, by the way. Definitely not gay. So, who am I? Why are you here? Etc., etc. My name's Mike. I'm from the UK, hence the funny accent. I'm also still kind of drunk from last night. Again, hence the accent. Yeah, I apologize. I'm in America now. It's all your fault. So, I would like to talk briefly about tricks being for kids. So for the last 5 years, I found excess all over the place in Grand Rapids. This year, I looked. You bitches have fixed your shit. It took you 5 years, but you are now done. Experience Grand Rapids now doesn't have straight XSS. Ride the Rapid rather, does not have XSS. It took you 5 years, but well done, you finally fixed it. 5 years of me coming here, talking about it, and you fixed it. Yay. I mean, you still probably got SQLi, but we don't talk about that because this is a public arena. Anyway, so, brief introduction. Last year, if you were here, and I apologize for that if you were, I looked at Iran. Because I looked at North Korea before Iran. Basically, I like annoying, dangerous places, because if I'm going to die, at least I want to die whilst pissing someone off. Russia and the West have always kind of run parallel to each other. They're kind of very similar underneath the hood. What this talk's about, and I apologize because Phoenix just gave a historical kind of talk. I'm giving a historical kind of talk. Maybe Brits are into history because we've read books and shit. Sorry. But the important thing is don't shoot me at any point. Please don't shoot me. I know you people can, but don't. Also, before I continue, if you are sitting at the back and you lack power, please come up front. This horrible segregated system doesn't work for me. So if you actually need something, come and take it. I'm totally cool with that. Additionally, we have a stand this year. We had a stand last year. It was staffed by my staff, who can't come because they've just had a baby. So if you'd like to give my guy who was here last year, Ian, a big round of applause. He's had a child. It's really exciting. Yay, he can breed. But we have a stand. Now, I'm not going to be on that stand because I'm too drunk to be a responsible adult. So my open offer to the entire place is if you have a company that can't afford a stand, use my stand. If you have an open source piece of software you want to talk about, use my stand. Basically, my stand is now a community stand. Take it, use it, do something good with it. And if you sell anything, I want a fucking commission. So, to continue, there are many, many bullet points on this talk. I will, because it's me, swear frequently. So if you're offended by bad language, fuck off now. Just leave. You puritanical twats, I can't be arsed dealing with you. I will talk very quickly. I've got 120 slides to go through. And again, to emphasize my earlier point, don't shoot me. I will bleed, and I will bleed on you. And then you will get what I've got. And you don't want that. My final point, PowerPoint would have been a presentation medium well suited to a communist dictator. I'm not a communist dictator, but I'd like to be, because those guys have fun. They live in palaces whilst everybody else lives in shacks. That sounds cool. Let's do that. So, the first part of my talk. Look, it's Superman, kind of, vaguely. So, this is where the talk starts properly. So the First World War was really cool for signals intelligence. In the UK, the post office ran the telephone network. Very odd. There was a place called Room 40 that was set up by the Admiralty to work on cipher decryption during the First World War. Now, information warfare. Everybody rattles on about this shit now. This is apparently cyber. That shit's old. The first actual activity which could be classified as information warfare, was during the First World War, where what happened is the GPO, the post office, sent out a little ship. And the little ship cut a cable, and the Germans couldn't talk to each other anymore. So information warfare is an old thing. Basically what that proves is that the UK, and I apologise to my government for this, have always been penises. Always. And we are also responsible for a number of later developments. And again, I apologise for that. So, in 1927, both MI5 and MI6 raided the All-Russian Co-op Society down in London. Why am I saying that? Because it was interesting. They found someone burning documents in the basement. They also found like a hidden photo lab. So the Co-op Society may have actually been spies. Just saying. You know, they've got a development studio and are burning documents wildly. Another thing that happened in 27 is our Prime Minister at the time, Stanley Baldwin, who is not a musical star, basically read out decrypted Russian communications that had been discovered in that raid. So basically, what we have there is a politician reading shit out that had been decrypted, thus allowing the Russians to kind of figure out that their shit had been decrypted. So, yeah, good OPSEC, dude. Well done. So, between the First and Second World War, only 2 nations couldn't actually have their shit intercepted by the UK. 2. There were only 2. Those were Germany and Russia. You guys, we could read your shit. We did read your shit. We had like an empire. We read everybody's shit. We didn't read Germany and Russia's though. So, who are these dudes? Right, so, if you know history, you'll know who this guy is. This guy is Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a mathematical genius. We like Alan Turing. This guy in the middle, who you've never heard of, is Tommy Flowers. Stupid name, but an awesome guy. Because what he did was take what lived in his head and build it. Why is he an awesome guy? And why do I have a hard-on for Tommy Flowers? Because he was told by the government at the time that he couldn't build what was in Turing's head. So basically what he did is he went round the back of telephone exchanges, picked up lots of spare parts that were just lying around, and built it in 4 months. So, fuck you. That guy is fucking awesome. He built pretty much the world's first real computer out of spare parts that were just hanging around. That guy is fucking awesome. Everybody's heard of Turing. Nobody's heard of this dude, which sucks. You should. That guy. That guy was the fucking engineer. Fuck the cryptographer. That guy was the engineer. So, in terms of Bletchley Park, Winston, I know him by name, so I can call him Winston, referred to his workers in Bletchley as geese. Why? Because they laid golden eggs in terms of intelligence, and they never clucked. I may have used the word clucked just because it kind of sounded like fucked. Sorry. Now, the Germans didn't know that the Enigma cipher had been broken because of Polish bombs. That's right. Everybody assumes the Brits broke, German comms. No, it was the Poles. And, it's about time that people acknowledge that. I mean, they've got a plaque at Bletchley. If you go to Bletchley Park, they've got a plaque. It's a tiny fucking plaque. You go on this big tour and they say, oh, look, here's a Colossus, here's a bomber. Look, we broke Nazi communications. Here's a tiny plaque for the Poles. Those guys risked their lives to get ciphers out. Now, Germans didn't realize that their shit's been broken. The Russians did. Oops. Now, Enigma, not the same as Tunny. Tunny was a separate cipher. It was a name used by the UK to describe the Lorenz cipher machine. Now, Enigma, in terms of the encryption machine, had 3 or 4 ciphers. By the way, I am going somewhere with this, so bear with me. Tunny had 12. Now, Enigma could be broken by the bomber. Tunny, however, was massively resilient. Tunny, however, was massively hard and massively steampunk. I mean, that is a fucking cool bit of kit. That is better than a fucking Enigma box. I want that. Also, it says emo on it, which is kind of cool. It's going through changes, okay? Just leave it alone. It's got problems. Back the fuck off. Now, Bletchley actually captured an Enigma machine and the accompanying code book, so they had something to work with. Until the end of the war, no fucker had seen a Tunny machine. They knew it existed because shit was encrypted, but they didn't know with what. Now, it was a really hard problem, and the hard problem required a machine to fix it. That's where the Colossus come in. Now, everybody, because of Hollywood, thinks that Alan Turing broke Enigma. Alan Turing, not Polish, just so you know. Actually, what Alan Turing did was reverse the Tunney cipher, or rather, what Tommy Flowers did was build a machine that reversed the Tunney cipher. So when Hollywood pushes out films saying, Enigma and, all that shit, no, it was nothing to do with Enigma. Bletchley didn't break Enigma, the Poles fucking did. All they did was take Polish research and rebadge it, because, apparently they were like HP or something. Now, between 41 and 45, there was a guy called John Cairncross that worked at Bletchley. And, like most government workers, the pay wasn't great, so he got a second job. And his second job was working for the Russians. Now, they reckon he passed about 5,000 decrypts of Tunney. Most of them were about the Battle of Kursk, apparently. But some people reckon they were actually about the Manhattan Project, which I think Phoenix may have mentioned. Now, he was also the fifth man in Cambridge spy ring. And this is great. Thanks for this, America. Basically, he worked after the war, he worked as a French literature lecturer here. So he basically was a massive traitorous bastard, and then came here, saying nothing. He was also Scottish, hence the weird hair. Sorry, Phoenix. So, let's just clarify something. The golden geese that Winston liked were working on super secret shit that nobody knew about. Apparently, they never clucked. They laid golden eggs. Nobody knew about their shit. It was secure and things. Germany didn't know that their communications were intercepted because they wouldn't have sent communications. Russia fucking did. I mean, they were an ally at the time, but they knew because of Cairncross and various other people. Now, until 1975, lots and lots of people didn't know that the Colossus computer was even a fucking thing. 12 of them were built. At the end of the war, most of them were taken apart and put round the back of the post office where their components had been found. Several, however, went to GCHQ, where they were used until the 60s, which is kind of odd. At the end of the Second World War, basically a group called TICON ran across Europe trying to get all the German signal technology they could. So did Russia. Basically, that's when shit started in terms of a race for signals intelligence. That's what it was about. That's where it began. So, yeah, bourbon. At the end of the war, basically, by we, I mean pseudo Five Eyes. By we, I mean the UK and USA. Basically, we set up a program called Bourbon because, we were working with Americans, so we had to name it after something you recognized. Great thing about that is that was to analyze Soviet signals, and you silly bitches turned down a Colossus. You were like, okay, that shit works, we don't want it, we'll build our own. The best thing about this, and this is a fucking awesome quote, and I love it, love it, love it. There was a quote about what was happening at the end of the Second World War by the NSA, or pseudo-NSA at that time. The British seemed to be reading everything. The Americans, virtually nothing. They were talking about signals intelligence, but maybe they were talking about, I don't know, fucking literacy. Just a fucking thought. Read books, bitches. Now, the special arrangements, e.g. us bending over and taking up the arse, was formalised in 43, and it was given the imaginative title of UK-USA. God, bureaucrats are an imaginative bunch, eh? Now, the history of UK-USA intelligence is pretty fucking simple. GCHQ came about in 46. Before that, it was the Government Code and Cipher School, which was set up after the First World War. NSA was 52. Before that, it was the Armed Forces Security Agency. I mean, there's more than this, but, in terms of signals intelligence, these are the big boys. These are the people that read your fucking emails and shit. Russia's really fucking complicated. So you've got the checker, you've got the OGPU, you've got the NKVD, you've got the MGB, you've got the KGB, you've got the FAPC, you've got FSK, you've got FSORF, you've got FSB, you've got SVRRF. You've also got concurrent to that GRU, MOI. Basically, the point is lots and lots of fucking agencies. Lots of agencies. Which basically means lots and lots of fucking spooks. You know, it always has had a very strong intelligence community, and it currently does have a very strong intelligence community. I'm going to skip through this bit. The only thing I will mention about this is there was a guy that was leaking stuff to the Russians about the Manhattan Project in '43. There was a project set up called Verona, which intercepted Russian comms, and basically they found this guy called Klaus Fuchs. Now, he confessed. He may have been, you know, banned first, but he confessed. It was definitely a thing. And at the time, MI5 and the nascent NSA didn't tell the guy that they'd actually intercepted his comms, because that would have given the fucking game away. So, you know, they wanted to keep the Verona project secret. Now, unlike Colossus, Verona wasn't a custom-built machine, or a purpose-built machine. It ran shit through a standard IBM punch card, and also unlike Colossus, it stopped working. We built a computer, which no fucker heard about until '75, and it worked. You, by way of IBM, built a computer, and it stopped working. I'm just saying, we had a guy that basically built a computer out of scrap, or 12 computers out of scrap, and they worked. You guys had a go, and it stopped working. Yay. Now, the thing about that is what was a major concern for the Intel program during the war was the lights going out, shit stopping working. Black Friday, proper Black Friday where comms stop and you can't decrypt them. Yeah? And it actually fucking happened. You know, nobody could read Russian traffic anymore. It was sucky. Now, the answer to that was computers. Now, ENIAC. You guys are probably all familiar with ENIAC. Started off as Project PX. Single-purpose computer. Did one job. It decrypted shit. That was its fucking job. Or rather, it ran ballistics programs, I should say. That was its one job. Now, this, for many, many decades, was known as the first computer. America was walking around, its bollocks on show, going, we built the computer, we're awesome! Now, fuck you, we made it out of scrap. First, we made 12 of them, you turned them down. Fuck you, we win. Now, as well as ENIAC, there was lots of other single-purpose computers that were made. And because the engineers were involved, they gave them stupid names like Hecate and Warlock and Sled. And, you know, engineers have always used dickhead names. Always. I don't know why, it's just kind of what we do. Now, as well as the UK and USA that were working on single-use computers to solve problems like decrypting shit and plotting where bombs went and stuff, Russians were also doing it because it was Cold War. Now, this guy, guarantee about no people in this room have heard of this guy. Guy called Sergei Lebedev. Nobody's heard of him. Everybody in this room has probably heard at some point of Alan Turing. This poor bastard no fucker's heard of, and you should have done. Now, he was kind of like Tommy Flowers, because what he did is he read about computers in foreign journals, in Western journals. He was like, oh, they have computers. I will build a computer. Fuck it. I'm not sure how. We have valves. Let's build a computer. He built computers just after reading about them, which is pretty fucking impressive. Now, the computer he built was called Besem. Besem, which is a project that was built just because, you know, he could build it, was the fastest computer in the world. Well, at least in Europe. It shat all over everything else. This guy read a book, or rather read an article, and then built the fastest computer in Europe. That's pretty fucking hardcore. Now, 54, GCHQ took delivery of Oedipus. Oedipus, as well as being hilariously named, did stat analysis on one-time pads that the Russians were pushing around. Now, it could process about 10,000 attempts in 1.6 seconds, which is fucking fast. Oedipus was also kind of interesting because you could do more than one thing with it. Up until that point, computers could only be used for one purpose. Oedipus was to do multiple purposes, as well as, decrypting ciphers. And the West was really proud of themselves. Look, we made a computer, it does things. Woohoo! Minor problem, the Russians had got there first. They just kept fucking quiet about it and didn't wave their dick in traffic. And it was faster. And it was better. And it worked. And it didn't go off, unlike the IBM machines. And, okay, they may have got there first with multi-purpose computers, e.g. actual fucking computers. UK USA was first to mass market home PCs. They were the first to commoditize. The Russians just built shit that worked. You guys were like, we can sell this shit for profit. Now, Russia got there slow, and the best thing, this is awesome. This shows you how fucked up Reagan was. Basically, there was a program in the 80s called the Farewell Program. Now, what that sought to do is the Russians basically copied a lot of tech. They got computers and they were like, okay, that's how that works. Let's build that. And they mass produced, and, that's why, Russian tech was ripped off from Western tech. So what happened with the Farewell Program is basically in the 80s, Americans started shipping tech, like IBM PCs, that didn't actually work. I mean, they turned on, but that's kind of all they did. So the Russians basically took the tech that didn't work, ripped off the tech that didn't work, and built their own tech that didn't work, and then were like, why doesn't it work? Fuck. It was a great bit of actual, state-level sabotage. Now, just as the history of computing was parallel, and in some cases in Russia better, the history of the Russian internet is also a kind of parallel. See, I am going somewhere with this, and thanks for staying with me. So, that brings me to the second part of this talk. This is a map of transatlantic cables. What do you see on the map of transatlantic cables, or, trans-Pacific cables, or undersea cables? Look, there's Russia. There are no fucking cables in Russia. Just saying. Russians smart. You guys dumb. Russians can monitor because it goes out through one place, Odessa. They can basically play fucking security guard on the internet and go, nope, that's not coming in. That's no entry points. One, I should say. So, the internet in Russia. It's a CIA project. According to Call Me Vlad, Vladimir Putin, the currently insane bastard in charge of Russia, the internet is CIA project. It's CIA, they built it. It's like, okay. But that gives you some concept of how people think about the internet over there. Now, according to the International Telecoms Union, who should know about these things because, that's kind of what they do, the internet in Russia has gone fucking nuts. In 2000, there were 1.98% of people in Russia that had access to the internet. 1.9%. Yeah? In the US, in the same time period, there was 43%. Nobody in Russia in 2000 was using the fucking internet. It's really fucking odd. Now, however, 70% or thereabouts have got access to the internet. It's gone from 0 to a lot in 14 years. Weird. My best or favourite bit of research that the ITU did, in 2000, over here, there were 7 million broadband connections. In Russia, there were 0. Absolutely fucking none. Nobody in Russia in 2000 had broadband at all. Now, 24 million people have got broadband. So in 14 years, we've gone from none to a fuckload. Now, in terms of Russia, the internet, as over here, is intrinsically linked to telecoms. Telecoms in Russia have always, since day fucking one, been monitored. The science of monitoring known as phonoscopy, can be traced to a guy called Abram Trachtman. Now, Trachtman basically was based in a Sharaska. What is a Sharaska, you ask? A Sharaska was the best way of doing research ever. It is a business model I am fucking stealing. What a Sharaska was basically a prison camp where people couldn't leave. You fed them pretty much enough to keep them alive. You definitely didn't pay them, and they did really good research. Now, as a research company, that's a model I can appreciate. And it's a model I potentially will steal. Now, the guy called Trachtman has invented phonoscopy, which was the idea of, actually intercepting calls to listen to them and actually tracing where those calls were going and who was talking to who, had help. He had help by a guy called Alexander Solzhenitsyn. You may have heard of him. He's a minor writer, only won like the Nobel fucking literature prize for literature. Kind of important. Book called In the First Circle kind of details what happened at the Sharaska. He also worked with a guy called Lev Topalev. Lev was a cool guy. We like Lev. He named his book No Jail for Thought, which I think is a fucking amazing title, and actually was a very, very, very sharp crypto guy. He's also, after helping invent phone interception, was transferred to Compound in Kachina. I'm not going to try and read what that compound was called, but basically, it was the fucking KGB. That's where the KGB came from. It came from slave labor. Great. Well done, Russia. Now, the point behind the KGB initially, the initial fucking point of the KGB was to intercept any phone call, any comms, identify what people were talking about, and identify who was talking to who. The surveillance of telephony was really important to Russia. Massively important, because they didn't trust the phone. This is why in Russia you have a saying which is, this is not a phone conversation. To this day, because people are, aware that somebody is listening. Now, the internet was born there. That building is the Khrushchev Institute. Basically, it was founded for the guy who helped develop the first atomic bomb in Russia. That innocuous, boring, dull building, and I think the top of it says Russian technology, best technology. But basically, that anonymous little block is where the internet in Russia actually happened, which is kind of interesting. Now, how did it happen? Well, there was a guy called Valery Bardin, and what happened was he got a copy of Unix that had been smuggled in, because at that point you had to smuggle shit into Russia, as opposed to smuggling shit out. So they got Unix smuggled in. Bardin saw Unix and built his own, which is pretty fucking cool. He basically ripped it off. And that's how Demos happened, which, was the Russian Unix. If you want to play with a Russian Unix, if antique operating systems are your thing, you can, thanks to the Unix Heritage Society. Telnet there, go play, it's quite funny. I may have broken it more than once. If you want to look at the source code, you can freely download it now. Yay, internet. Now, thing about the Unix Heritage Museum, it's Italian, so I'll help. Because, I need to help Americans sometimes because, I believe in cooperation and special relationships. What you do is you click option 5, and you tell it's option 5 because it's Cyrillic text, you see. How helpful am I? Just, helping you guys out. So, when the head of the Khrushchev Institute heard about Demos and Bardin's work, they obviously saw what Unix was and were like, hang on a minute, this can do networking. Computers can talk to other computers. Now, this was kind of a shocking revelation at the time because Russia, thanks to MESM and BESM and all that single-use and multi-use computing environment, was used to mainframes. The shit stays in that room, that shit stays in that room, and they never talk to each other. So networking was like, wow, we can do this shit. Now, the first bit of networking was between Moscow and Leningrad, so less than 500 miles. And that happened via normal phone lines. No fucking broadband. No broadband, but broadband is a thing. Now, first computer network in Russia wasn't until 1990. That's 21 years after fucking ARPANET. I mean, that's how weirdly segmented and segregated shit was in Russia. 21 fucking years. That's mental. Now, in 1990, another thing happened. Rather than two machines talking between themselves in Moscow and Leningrad, GrrCON, who were the guys that actually, spun out of Khrushchev Institute, exchanged emails with Finland. And then they got onto EUNet. In 1990, in September, there was the top-level domain .su. Why .su, not .ru? Because Soviet Union, best union. Although the first connections to the outside world from Russia were made in August, September's kind of seen as the birthday of Russian internet. There isn't any cake, I checked. Now, why is that important? Because in 1991, the military got fucked off with Gorbachev. Gorbachev was like, okay, let's not be dicks anymore. Let's not have a Soviet Union. I don't know, let's buy some fucking Levi's or something. And the military got a little bit upset, and they attempted to have a coup. Because, he was being a dick. Now, after the coup, Boris Yeltsin, who's by far and away my favourite Russian politician, because he was always pissed drunk on vodka, best politician, basically got elected as the first PM in Russia in the first democratic election. Now, much of the news about the attempted coup was blacked out because, Russia. You will learn what we want you to learn, you will read what we want you to read, you will watch what we want you to watch, and you will listen to what we want you to listen to. Now, the Russian internet, or rather the pseudo-Russian ISP, RELCOM, was used to basically spread news about the coup. It was really, really fucking important. The reason why Putin got in, the reason why Yeltsin got in, is because he could use a mechanism that the KGB couldn't fucking monitor. They didn't have a clue. And that's fucking awesome. Internet equal freedom. That's pretty cool. Now, following Yeltsin's election, the USSR fell apart. It was no longer a thing. Now, RELCOM, who I mentioned earlier, was set up as one of the first private companies in Russia. They're still in our ISP today, to this day. They are known as RELCOM Business Network, not to be confused with Russian Business Network. That's an entirely different thing. They do bulletproof hosting for pedophiles and should be wiped off the face of the earth. So, there's their website. Yay, RELCOM. There's their admin panel. Yay, RELCOM. Just saying. So, how did it work? Well, in 1990, they were joined by a company called Sovam Teleport. They provided links only over X25. I like X25. X25 is awesome. They launched broadband services in 92. How did they launch broadband services? Because British Telecom and the American billionaire George Soros gave them the money. So UK, USA, all the way, have some money, have some internet. It's going to be great. 94, the first publicly accessible website was launched in Russia. So, 3 years after fucking CERN, but, they got there. That's the Sovam website, which was the first one launched in Russia. The important bit about here is if you check at the bottom, you can see this little link to Russia Online. Russia Online was kind of like America Online, except, Russian and shit. Now, what is this? This is a thing. This is from a presentation I found about the Sochi Olympics, which demonstrates, some of the capabilities of Russia. What that basically says, and, I've got a very nice person that's translating the entire thing for me so I can read it because I don't read Russian because I'm a retard. What that basically says is the state in Russia can read fucking everything, can intercept fucking anything, and does. Fuck you, Tempora. We are doing this before Tempora because we are better, and Russian science better than science in West. Now, that's a system called SORM, which you may or may not have heard of. Best name ever. System for Operative Investigative Activities. Big black boxes that sit on pipes, effectively. It was set up initially because the AGB was like got a bit lazy. They were like, we can fucking automate this listening to shit. We'll just put this at the telephone exchange, and we can listen to shit, when we want. Now, there's several iterations of SORM. SORM 2 came out in '98, thanks to an amazing resource called Libertarium.ru. Libertarium.ru have got the biggest balls in the world. They fucking win the ball competition. Basically, what happened is they found an analyst that was working on SORM. That analyst gave them documentation. Libertarium was like, hello, Internet, have documentation. Massively ballsy. Incredibly ballsy and very cool. The scary thing about SORM 2, and this is in '98, remember, there's a clause in there, SORM should provide for reading of all information, both incoming and outgoing, belonging to specific subscribers of the networks in question. They were reading shit in 1998. Now, in 2014, SORM 3 came about. The actual communications order is online. You can read it yourself. Go and read. Try and read Russian. It'll be fun for you. Use Google Translate. Now, SORM 3, or the third implementation, basically can do lots of things. It can monitor IPv4 addresses. It can monitor IPv6 addresses. It can, find phone numbers. It can find MCs. It can find emirs. It basically can read all the things. Fuck hacking all the things, they just read all the things. The important thing is, as well as going after Yandex, which is based in Amsterdam, Rambler, which is based at Rambler.ru, which is basically, Russian Google. One of the first sites in Russia was kind of Russian Google, because, Russia, fuck you, they do it better. As well as reading those webmails, they can also read webmails for Gmail and Yahoo, and, shit that isn't in Russia. Not saying how they do that, but, maybe that might be a little bit dodgy, because those aren't Russian companies, and they may have no legal authority, I don't know. Now, basically, since '98, the FSB have had SORM, and they've had the ability to capture all the traffic that goes in and all the traffic that goes out of Russia. This, basically, is tempora before tempora was a fucking thing. Basically, I think what happened is somebody at the NSA was like, shit, they can do what? Yeah, fuck it, we want that, let's do that. Basically, the thing to remember is if you use the internet in Russia, you are going to be surveilled. That's how it works. You have always been surveilled. That's how it works. I mean, over here it's like, oh no, they're surveilling me, they can read my email. People in Russia know that, implicitly. Now, Putin's first week on the job. 2000, Putin came in and added lots of additional agencies, as well as the FSB, that could access SORM. He added the tax police. Nobody likes the tax police. They're the worst police. He also added the actual police, and nobody kind of likes them either, but he added the FPSO. He added the border service. He added the Ministry of the Interior. My fucking favourite one, he added the Kremlin Regiment. If you don't know the Kremlin Regiment, right, these are guys that prance around on horses and guard the president. That is their job. But those guys can now access SORM because, they're friends of Putin. Lots of people are allowed to play. These are the logos of the people that can read all the internet traffic in Russia. You guys have just got the fucking NSA and the Phoebes. Russia's like, no, everybody gets a go. Everyone. I mean, the important thing to remember about this is basically, in Russia, the Russian equivalent of the TSA can read your email. The border service of Russia can read your email. I mean, in this country, the TSA can't even let people into this country without asking them dickhead questions. Yes, I am now ranting at you, TSA. When I come into this country and I have a bottle of whiskey, it is a bottle of whiskey. It is not a fucking bomb. You can tell it is not a bomb because it does not have electronic components in it. So do not ask me if it is an explosive. I mean, if you add fire to whiskey, yes, it burns, but it does not explode. That was for you, TSA. Listen. But in Russia, the TSA can read your email. That's fucking awesome. They can't even work lines here. In Russia, they can read email. Now, In terms of how Storm works, if you want to actually look at the packet composition, if you actually want to look at what is in the data packets, you need a warrant. If you want to look at metadata, which is kind of dangerous and, as has been illustrated, can kind of kill, you don't need a warrant. You can just fucking do it. The tax police can go, oh, cool, let's look at that. That's awesome, let's kill him. But Storm is not the only way that Putin's trying to control the internet. This is one of my favourite pictures of Putin. A, because he looks like a fucking Bond villain, and B, because that cat is fucking terrified. That cat smells the evil and it's just like, fuck it, we out. Now, in 2014, the Duma, which is the lower parliament in Russia, passed a bill. What that bill said is that as of next year, in September, data from Russia can't be stored out of country. It has to be stored in Russia. So basically, if you're Russian, you can't go on Facebook because that shit's in America. You can't go on Twitter because that shit's in America. You can't go on LiveJournal because that shit's in America. I mean Amsterdam, I mean America, I mean wherever LiveJournal are these days, and maybe it's a thing. But basically, you can't communicate anymore using non-Russian services. That's kind of fucked up. That's not what the internet's about. In 2012, the Russians also introduced a blacklist of websites. Those were to mandate child pornography, which I agree with. Get that shit off my internet. That's not in my church. It was also to regulate drug-related materials, which I'm less cool with. I mean, get rid of CP, but leave the drug shit. We like drug shit. Drug shit's fine. They also sought to ban extremist materials. I don't know what defines extremist, but possibly this talk. It's not good. Now, how the blacklist works is they have a telephone regulator now, and they, accept reports about shit that may be potentially dodgy. Nobody knows what's in the blacklist. This guy, ballsy motherfucker. This is a drop that was published in 2012 of the Russian blacklist, because nobody knew what was on it, and this guy was like, there you go, that's what's on it. Fucking ballsy. Massively ballsy. At the same time, in November 2012, the actual regulator was attacked. Now, I'm not saying the two are related, but it kind of seems a little bit fucking coincidental. Just saying. Now, in 2014, there was also the best law. This is fucking great. Right, if you are a blogger, if people want to read about when you last went to the toilet, because that's kind of what you do, if you have more than 3,000 people that come to your site, not regularly, but over time, if there are 3,000 individual visits to your website, so when Google spiders your site, that's a visit. When Bing spiders your website, that's a thing. But basically, if you have 3,000 individual visits, you have to register with the regulator. You have to say, hi, people are looking at what I'm writing. Is that a problem? And they go, no, I have a license to write. You are now allowed to write. If you don't do that, you get fined. If you don't pay your fine, you go to fucking jail. You can still get jailed in Russia for writing. That's fucked. Now, earlier this year, the blacklist blocked Bitcoin. Bitcoin can be used for shadow economy. Apparently, it has no other purpose than just buying drugs and women or whatever people do on Bitcoin. But the point is, they're blocking even legitimate shit. Wikipedia's been blocked. Fucking Web Archive has been blocked. Russia's fucking mental. It's just like, no, you can't see that anymore. Fuck information. No information for you. Now, my favourite bit of Russia. This is fucking great. In 2014, Dmitry Medvedev, who's basically Putin's little friend, who he made prime minister for a bit, signed a law that basically said, if you use public wireless, you have to show your passport. So if you go into Starbucks and you use the Starbucks wireless, you have to give them your passport first. Weirdly, that was judged as largely unfeasible. Yeah. I don't know why. And it was definitely judged unfeasible in public areas. It still works in cafes. You still have to produce your passport in a cafe, but you don't have to do it in a park. Why don't you have to do it in a park? Because they can fucking watch you in a park because you're outside. If you're using a laptop in a park and there is only one guy using a laptop in a park, you're pretty easy to fucking spot. My favourite fucking quote. This shows how fucking nutsy Russia is. Guy called Vadim Dengin, who looks a charming chap, doesn't he, said, we are talking about security. There is information warfare. Incidentally, I apologise for this. This is Google Translate, so it is mangled to shit, because Google Translate. Anonymous internet connection in public areas allows illegal actions with impunity. Awesome. Finding the offenders very difficult. Awesome. Americans are afraid of war. No, you're not. I've seen what you people do with bombs. You're not afraid of war. He was clearly high. It is now the best fight in the information space. They increased their holding. Voice of America. And this is the fucking scary bit. Those who are interested in the destabilization attempts to saturate the network, and all that is connected to the internet should be identified. All that is connected to the internet should be identified. That's a fucking scary statement. Now, sorry, Vadim, I'm going to ruin your day. Wiggle's fucking great. I love Wiggle. It's the best thing in the world. You can go everywhere internationally and just fucking ponce around with wireless. It's great. Now, in Russia, there's quite a lot of wireless connections. There's quite a lot of wireless connections that use WEP, and, you know, that's wonderfully secure. However, there's 7.2% of Russian wireless isn't encrypted at all. You can just fucking log on. Nobody cares. So this giving a passport to use wireless idea, kind of bullshit, because I can use 7.2% of Russian wireless connections without a fucking passport, without authentication, without any credentials whatsoever. So Vadim, and monitoring everything, can kind of stick it up his arse. Now, hacking team, this was fucking awesome. I loved the Italians. The Italians are awesome. Now, hacking team, I'm sure you're all familiar with them. I'm sure you read all the dumps, and you went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and were like, they're talking about holidays. Look at their passports. Look at his pretty little face. Oh, look, I've got malware. Now, in 2013, a Russian company called JCS Infotechs purchased the remote control system. A guy called Alexei Kalchin did it. There's his email, advancedmonitoring.ru. Write to him, send him an email. Ask him why he's buying that shit. Harass him. Harass him. No, seriously. Email that guy. Let's fill his mailbox up. It'll be funny. Now, JCS Infotechs basically is a spin-off from Kvant. Kvant are a research institute. And basically, Kvant are FSB. That's what they are. The FSB give them all the money, Kvant do the research, and they funnel the money to JCS. So basically, that means that the FSB have bought shit from Hacking Team, which is kind of cool. The partner of Hacking Team, NICE, tried to sell some shit to the FSB because the FSB have money. They weren't told of the existing relationship that Hacking Team have. Hacking Team didn't even talk to their partners properly. And basically, what happened there is the FSB bought shit direct from Hacking Team in 2011 and forward, and didn't pay Italian VAT. And there's their invoice, where they didn't pay any VAT. So, not only are they selling shit to the FSB, who basically, you know, do torture people and shit, but they also are doing tax fraud. Just saying. Kind of a shit thing to do on both counts. Now, the important bit, the massively important bit, is in 25 years, the internet in Russia has gone from 0 to massively populated. In 25 years, it has gone from being an open medium that the KGB couldn't monitor, which allowed change, to being massively monitored, massively controlled. And there's a lesson there. Now, last bit of the talk, and I will rattle through this, because people are bringing shit in. This, by the way, is my favourite thing. This is Bulgarian. Bulgarians are fucking funny motherfuckers. paint Russian memorials in American colours. My favourite bit is Ronald McDonald. That's fucking awesome. I love that. So, I will go through this quick. Last year we port scanned Iran. This year we port scanned Russia, because fuck Russia. We use the same methodology. We did it from Holland. Nobody can prosecute me. The CFFA doesn't apply. Fuck you. You can't arrest me. Ha 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 ha. And we played nice. We started in August, and project called Marina. Marina's a Slavic goddess that basically is associated with death. Now, motivation, look at countrywide net blocks. So we found out of a possible 42 million hosts, 3.5 million, or 3.4 million. Showdown's got 5.7 million because that scans all the time. So we found a bit less. We did banner grabs of the top 1,000 ports. In Russia, there are 306 boxes that allow for basic auth. Pretty bad. Most popular web server, Apache, by a long margin. Apache 2.22. It's got at least 4 public DOSes. That's got at least 1 RCE. Nginx, version of Nginx that wins is 1.21. Again, it's got 1 DOS. It's got 1 RCE. Like TDB, the same. IIS 7.5, the same. So, we also found 250,000 ROM pager boxes. We also found lots of Cisco CCP, obviously. We found lots of other shit, which I will rattle through. This is awesome. We found a bank. We found lots of POSs. We found whatever that is. We found somebody, initiating a kernel panic. Because Russia. We found lots and lots of shit. And my favorite thing what we found was this guy. This guy's awesome. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. The Russian TSA can read my email. I'm just going to put that shit on the internet. Anybody can read my email. Fuck it. Just connect. Read my email. I don't fucking care. Now, lots and lots of shit that was exploitable. Lots and lots of shit that was exploitable. Lots and lots of shit that was exploitable. So, more shit that was exploitable. Fucking Metasploit in Russia. I don't need to buy a Metasploit license for Metasploit Pro. I'll just steal this one. 10 Nessus instances. What do you think the passwords are? They're on the internet. Could they be admin? I don't know. I didn't test. Maybe you should. But if you do, you can test from Russia. You don't need a fucking VPS. You can use these guys. So, if you noticed, up at the top there's been a running total. If you look, see, running total, I'm not lying. It increments and everything. And in Russia, they are right now using easy mode hacking. All you have to do is fucking connect. That's all you have to do. There are 384,000 boxes, at least. Basically what I did is I said that half the boxes are exploitable. Didn't count earlier increments of IIS or Pro FTP. Basically, there are at least 3.8 thousand, or 100,000, at least. If you want to be aggressive about it, I reckon there's about 850,000. If you want to be really dicky and aggressive about it, I reckon about 1 million are doable. If you really went for it and, actually typed admin. Now, we found 3 million hosts. Of the 3 million hosts, 10% right now can be owned just by looking at them, by breathing hard. Or to put it another way, the fuck? One thing we did find, which is kind of interesting, and I will go through this quickly, Chris, I know, stop tapping your watch. Right, there's a place called the Marriott NSK. Marriott NSK, we found their open telephony interfaces. Why is that important? Because it showed that they were in the Kremlin. If you go on Showdown right now and look for shit in Russia, most of the shit in Russia is hosted there, which is the Kremlin. Now, why is that important? Because NSK, Novosgrad, nowhere fucking near the Kremlin. It's like, Thor and shit. So, why is everything being routed through the Kremlin? I don't know. Maybe it's some. I don't know. Go have a look. So, Tor's not a big deal. There's less Tor in Russia than there is here by a long margin. Why is this important? this is important because this guy, whoever owns this exit node, has got balls. Putin loves Tor. I want to find that Russian dude and get him drunk. I want to find that Russian dudette and get her drunk. Whoever that is, fucking amazing. Now, FSB are possibly looking at Tor. Go read this later. Now, my conclusions. This is my favourite photo from Russia. You have the Russian riot police, a pigeon with a fucking guitar, and an old woman. What set of events, what possible events led to that fucking photo? That's fucking great! That's the best riot ever! So my conclusion, other than that being the most awesome photo ever, is Russia is fucking mental. All of them, in terms of state surveillance, are fucking insane. In 15 years, they've gone from 0 internet population to massive. RUNET is huge. Look at RUNET. They're going to take over the fucking internet. I can tell you people. Now, it's gone from 0 to massive. It's also gone from open to closed. That's the important thing. They've gone in less than 15 years, or 25 years, I should say, from an open, inclusive system that can change regimes, that can bring down the fucking Soviet bloc, to shit that is closed. Think about this, and think about what your country, my country, are fucking doing. So, thank you for having me. I will now fuck off so you can all go drink again. I listen to various music. I have terrible music taste. If you want to get in touch, look at his little face. Want to get in touch, you can do. We're available for code reviews, bar mitzvahs, coups, children's parties, and annoying nation states. You've all been lovely. Go get drunk.